What's up, everybody? We're here with an episode of Hustle on the Road, live from Pest World in Denver. We're at a beautiful location here overlooking the mountains, and I'm here with one of my best friends, Kyle Smith. His family's been in business for close to 100 years, running Tomahawk Live Trap up there in Wisconsin. So Kyle, thanks for coming on, and I'm really excited to talk a little bit about your story here today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. So let's just get it started. What's your first memory around Tomahawk Live Trap?
Oh, I guess that would be as long as I can remember. When I was a child growing up, my grandparents ran the business. So every time, and I grew up in southern Minnesota. My father worked at Homegrown Foods at that time while my grandparents were running the business. So we would travel back to Wisconsin to see my grandparents for pretty much every holiday, Christmases, and we'd spend a lot of time in the summers up in Wisconsin. And my grandparents' house was right on the old factory where they had taken an old mink ranch and actually turned it into a factory. The ceilings were 5.5 feet tall, and a lot of the spots that had dirt floors through half of it. But that was where.
So mink ranching. Tell me a little bit about that, because that's a pretty unique idea to me and probably most of the other people listening to this.
Well, up in that area, it was a pretty big industry at one time. Nowadays, it's pretty small. There is still a couple that exist, but fur has kind of taken on a negative view by a lot of the world, and because of that, there isn't as much demand for fur, so there isn't really not
a lot of mink ranchers out there.
But a long time ago, that was one of the prime sources for insulation for clothing,
and that's where the Tomahawk Live Trap got developed. Because what's the story? Your great
uncle Elmer Foster ran a mink ranch at one time, and he would lose mink. They would escape, chew out of the buildings, and to catch them and bring them back, he developed the first cage trap. Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah. And so your journey to becoming an entrepreneur and your hustle, it kind of started from seeing the business that you recently became the CEO of. It started by not actually being your direct family, but it was, you saw the business running from this distance almost, right?
Definitely. I was a little kid running around outside, and their factory was on the other side. They had a house probably 100 yards away from the actual factory, so I'd be out running around their house, and right across there'd be the factory operating.
So
pretty neat.
Was there any type of entrepreneurial spirit that you or even your parents had, or did that just was that cultivated over time as your family kind of transitioned into it?
Most of us in my family, we kind of do have a built-in entrepreneurship, and we've always done real estate investing, buying houses, flipping them.
Gotcha.
Buying houses and renting them out. We did a lot of that. Mm-hmm. I used to, as a 5-year-old, be painting basements for my parents.
Oh, I didn't know this about you. Okay, so that spirit was there, and you saw that, but your pops was working at Hormel, and then he transitioned to becoming a business owner pretty much overnight almost, right?
Pretty much. He also, when I was, I would say maybe 10 or 12, he started kind of a side business that would manufacture snake tongs, snake hooks, some beaver traps, and other equipment that we would bring over and sell to Tomahawk Live Trap. So we would manufacture some stuff at my home in Minnesota as well, and then fill up a whole pickup truck load, bring it over, and then the company would write us a check for that product and then sell it. And then so we were somewhat involved with the side hustle. And another interesting story about Tomahawk Live Trap back then is my parents actually met at Tomahawk Live Trap working in the factory.
So much love.
Yeah. They were both making traps when they were teenagers, early 20s, and that's how they met. And
I did not know this. Wow, this is just a whole family ordeal here.
for sure.
So your father at some point went from having a side hustle to now your dad is running a massive company with, I don't know, was it about the same size, a little bit smaller at that point from a personnel standpoint?
When my father took the business over, when he bought my grandma out, the business was struggling big time. My grandfather had passed away a couple years earlier, and you could tell, was in decline and very distraught about my grandpa passing away. So she was kind of giving up on the business in a way.
Oh, really?
And my father stepped in and cashed out his 401k to save the business.
He went all in.
Yep. And he did an amazing job. He's I think he owned it for maybe 15 years, around that altogether. The business quadrupled, so it's pretty impressive what he did with it and saved it.
So through that, was the plan always for you and your brother to kind of take it over? Like, is that something that you kind of had in the back of your mind, or when did you like see that as even like a goal to run towards?
Honestly, I never thought the opportunity would come to me at all. I thought maybe that maybe my uncle or aunt would be running the business. My dad had his own thing going in Minnesota, and I was in my early 20s, if not teens, when my grandpa passed away, so there was no real option for me to run the business. I didn't really think it would happen. Kind of a miracle that it all came together. And
honestly, like when I first met you, I thought you did own it because you were acting and behaving in that type of way.
I guess to me, if you work anywhere, that's how you should feel, like you own the place. Because I used to work at a grocery store, and to me, I treated it like I owned it, because that's, I think, how you should be. Was that
just like a level of, like, is that just how you were raised, or?
I think so. Yeah, I think my mom definitely raised me in a way to respect everybody.
And how do you, like, now when you're running a company with 50 some employees, how do you like instill that type of ownership with your team?
I treat everybody as fair as I can, and I think it's probably the biggest reason that we will continue to grow, because treating people like that has gained me ultimately the respect of my workforce, and they will do anything they can to help the business succeed. They come to me with ideas all the time, and it's because I've developed that level of trust, knowing that I'm not gonna screw them over and then just cut and run, and I'm going to take care of them, and they know that, and they take care of me in return.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to your warehouse and I've seen like how bought in everybody is. Seen your dad there cutting metal to make traps when it was COVID-ish time.
Yeah,
like just getting after it, and like the CEO of a large company doing that. I remember having a conversation with you, like how just like kind of taken back I was because that, like, you don't expect someone running a company that large to do that, but like running a business, sometimes somebody's got to cut the metal, right?
When stuff hits the fan.
Sometimes you got to make it happen. So now you just became the CEO of a very successful generational company, right? So, like, what's your vision for the company?
I see it us growing a lot over the next 5 to 10 years.
A lot
of ideas on other products that we could add, not just sticking with the traps and cages, but a lot of other wire mesh products, and other metal products that we can incorporate into our business, and maybe add a couple of other websites and sub businesses where we're.
So you're really thinking expansion in a few different areas. TBD.
Not just continuing our niche with our quality traps and specialized animal control products, but also reaching out into other industries, and not just being manufacturing of live traps. Although that will be our base, we will always consider that our baby.
Nobody does that better than you.
Yeah.
In the world, pretty much.
And really, I feel ethically responsible to provide that to the world, because there isn't another company out there that'll work with you to build a trap, say, to save a tortoise in Florida.
Let's talk a little bit about some of that. So you guys work with universities, you work with professionals, you work with homeowners. You literally serve this product to everybody. But like a really interesting part of what you guys do is within like the preservation of certain species, right? Is that usually through universities, or is it?
It is a bit of universities. It's a lot of U.S. government, and then there's a lot of private groups, organizations, like the Prairie Research Organization, for example. We've been recently working with them on a black-footed ferret trap. We've made that exactly how they want it now. We've revamped it a couple of times. We've worked with them in the field. They're trapping black-footed ferrets out in the prairie lands. They're an important predator of the prairie dog, and without them, prairie dog populations explode. So they're trapping some from some areas, and then they'll move them to other areas so that they can keep the bloodlines going healthy.
Otherwise, biodiversity.
Otherwise they become too inbred, and they can have a lot of problems with diseases.
So in those type of situations, are they coming to you and just like, hey, we have this problem, and we know we want to trap these guys. I don't know if you've got a trap for this, but can you help us out? Is that kind of how it goes?
A lot of the times that's exactly how it goes. We like to put ourselves in front of them, if we can. Also, we attend a lot of these conferences. Like the U.S. Fish and Wildlife has a whole bunch of conferences every year, regional ones around the country, and you get to interact face-to-face with these people. And not only biologists that are out in the field trying to save these animals and doing research on them, but you get a lot of the universities there too, where you've got students out doing testing, even population density testing, where they need a specific trap. We worked with the UW-Stevens Point a lot, and they have a really good biology program. We worked with them recently to develop a woodpecker trap that they use for flickers and woodpeckers in the area, where they're doing studies on the health of those. And then also, and they'll band them and try and track and see how they're interacting.
I mean, the thing that's the most unique about the traps that you guys do that I know nobody else does is that everything is a live capture trap. And that goes like that concept is kind of like it's contradictory. It's like you trap it, you think it's supposed to go the other direction. You guys are like, nope, we got some magic over here. And with that, you can study and research and ensure that you're not part of the reason something's going extinct.
And then you have discretion of what you're killing too. Say, you have a situation where a squirrel's in an attic and you set a trap to kill that's a lethal trap. It's understandable. You know what's coming in and out of there. You've got it contained where it's not going to hurt another animal. But if you're just like setting a trap on the ground, say, to catch
you never
something,
know.
Which is illegal in most areas because there is incidental catches, and that is a big point of the live trap, is that you're catching something alive in the cage. You can identify what it is before it's dead. If you absolutely have to kill it, like you have to do in some states because of the laws, what you've caught. If you say accidentally catch the neighbor's pet or something, you're not killing it, you're not injuring it, you can let it out.
It'd be a bad scenario if that happened, right? I mean, you guys are the original Live Trap, right? And I don't think you're going anywhere, especially not while you're driving it. So tell me a little bit about the things that you think about as you're kind of carrying on this legacy, right? Like what do you think about now when that's kind of switching? You've been acting like a business owner, but now like actually you are, right?
Yeah.
At a really big scale. So like what are some of the things that you've had to like start learning or think about a little bit differently that maybe just weren't even there?
Definitely the investing aspect of using the money a little bit more wisely. There's just so many opportunities and so many things coming to me. I have to really think about which one's going to be more profitable, not for just for me and the company, but for employees. Whereas before, I guess I was a little more gung-ho and I would kind of go after as much as I can because I'm just trying to grow the business. Now I have to be a little more
strategic
about it. Yeah.
Okay. Are you doing any like ongoing learning to try to like grow in a certain area that you see a need for yourself?
I've taken a lot of leadership classes. I always enjoy going to them just to see different people's perspective on how leadership should be, because I've been to a lot that are contradictory, and I kind of take what I think is the best out of all of them. I think continuing education is great for everybody. If you can find the time to do it, I think it usually pays off tenfold, right?
For sure.
There's always at least one little thing you can take back. And
I love that. What about like conversations with your kids? Like, is there certain things you keep in mind when you're like talking about the business or talking to them about the business?
I try to leave the stress away from the house for sure about it, and try to be positive about it as much as I can around them. Because it is stressful, of course, running a business.
Of course
some days are pretty stressful, and some days are a cakewalk. It just depends on what's going on at the time.
For sure.
So I try to leave that at home and try to be positive about it. I do try to get my kids to the business and hang out from time to time or help out. And I think they really enjoy that every time.
Good.
They've got smiles ear to ears when they're there. So I try to get them involved as much as I can. And I think now I've finally got a teenager now, started freshman in high school. So she's definitely acting more and more interested, and she's probably going to get at least a part-time job there at some point soon. It sounds like she wants to. So
I mean, that's pretty awesome, dude. And that like fifth generation even being an opportunity, like that's kind of the American dream. I know like that would be my dream for my business to have a legacy like that. So Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Homegrown Hustle podcast. One question we ask all of our guests is, what does the word hustle mean to them in terms of business? Could you go ahead and define that for us?
To me, hustle means just putting in the day-to-day, to be quite honest. It's not making excuses, not giving yourself too much slack, keeping yourself in check, and making sure you're getting it done.
Yeah, man.
And showing everybody else that you're there to participate and get it done.
Well,
and showing them that you're going to do it makes them want to do it just as much, if not more. Like I got people that show up at work, at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, because they want to be.
They're ready to get after it
and show everybody that.
I love that. Well, I mean, you guys are on your 100th year of hustling in business. So excited for you to kind of take over that new page for Tomahawk Live Trap, and really excited to see what you do with your team as you expand. Thanks for joining us on this. Is there a best way for organizations to get in contact with you?
You can email me directly, kyle@livetrap.com, or you can call us 1-800-272-8727, or you can always email us, trap'em@livetrap.com, if you want just our general inbox, and you can always just call us up and ask for Kyle Smith. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and we're always willing to work with you.
This is why I love Kyle, because he's one of my favorite human beings. Thanks for coming on the Homegrown Hustle. Kyle. Thanks everybody for joining us live again here at Pest World in Denver. The sun's catching me in my eyes, so it's got to be a wrap right now. Thanks everybody. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eichmann signing off until our next insightful episode.